well, Stan, does that mean it's downhill from now on? And I looked at him, I said, yeah, pretty much. And that, gave him as much encouragement as one could do. But that was nice. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening. A little bit long.
May I say my favorite part of the service was Rabbi Leader when Betsy was talking about he was on the bema and she said he had hold his hand and she saw his ring. She said, "Yeah, he's mine." That was my favorite part of the whole service.
It was a beautiful service. It really was.
It really was. And not that this is at all important. It doesn't matter at all. But the reception after services was fabulous. So that's good. So I see Susie. Hi, Susie. We sat next to each other or in front of each other, whatever, last night. You're muted, but you're still muted. Okay.
I sat behind you, and you're very tall.
Yeah, I mean, sitting behind me is not really a great idea, but that's fine.
Oh, I figured it out.
Yeah. Okay,
Stanley,
Brad.
I missed everybody.
We can find you from behind when we're watching it on Zoom.
Yeah.
Doris. Hi, good Shabbos, Doris. Abby. You've been through hell and back, Abby. Good to see you. Do you want to unmute so you can say hello to people? Yeah, one of those things. There you go.
Okay, there I am. Yeah, I'm doing better. I'm doing better. It was a couple of hard days, but it's doing better.
Super.
Yeah.
Glad to see you back and glad to see you well. Let's see, Mara and Harv. Okay, I see you guys. Shabbat Shalom. Lynn, Roy. Hi, Roy. Shabbat Shalom.
Good morning. Shabbat Shalom. It was a beautiful service.
Yes, it was. Yes. Mia, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Do you want to just say, my memory is a failed instrument. Do you want to say a word or two about yourself so that everyone knows?
Sure. So my name is Mia Guillory. I'm currently getting my master's in clinical counseling. And
wow.
I'm married with 3 children. One is an adult son, and I have 2 teenagers, Neo and Trinity. And we're faith walkers in Christ. We practice reading the Bible constantly as a family, sending the word to each other, and we pray probably about 3 times a day. So I'm just here and sharing the presence of God with you all today.
Super. You're very welcome, and it's good to have you here. I see Donna.
Hello.
I have a shirt just like that, Donna. I really do. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, I see Effie.
Great minds.
I see Jim, Lady Donna, Diane. Hi, Eric from New York. I see Carrie and Ray, Steve, Merle, and David.
Last week in Florida, going home.
You're going home?
Yeah, on Friday, and I'm going to Walt Disney World for a couple of days, and then on the auto train, home sweet home.
Well, I don't know if you should go to Disney World because they're running into trouble with the governor of Florida. So
I had to make my reservations 2 months ago, and I didn't know what was happening because you have to make reservations, get your park tickets, and your dining. I wanted to go to the Canadian Pavilion, but it was sold out. So I had another restaurant to go to in Epcot. So I'm sorry, but to go on cruises and other things, you got to make reservations well in advance because of the situation. I'm sorry I went to Disneyland, but I made my non-refundable money for that.
Let me just I think I've said hello. Ray and Dee Dee are on now. That's fabulous. And okay, a few of a major serious announcements. Class today will run until 9:55. I have shorted you 5 minutes, and I owe it to you. We'll figure out a way to do payback. And then we're going to do a brief Yizkor service. And it's going to start at 10 o'clock. It's going to end somewhere around 10:30, maybe even a little bit shorter. It is strictly for those of us who want to say Yizkor this morning and aren't able to do so because of conflicts and all that. So we're going to have a little Yizkor service, and we're getting too many people in here. We're going to have to figure something out. So we're going to have a Yizkor service from 10 to 10:30. And the Yizkor service will contain Kaddish. So I'll be reading the Yizkor names for the year, those who passed away during the year, and I will also be reading the Kaddish. And then we will say Kaddish at the end of the service. This is the 8th day of the Chag. To put it differently, pizza tonight. Definitely pizza. I think margarita. I really like it covered with vegetables. I think we'll do that. Because of the strange things that happen when Yom Tov and the 8th day of Passover and Shabbos all hit the same time. This week, our study portion is going to be the traditional reading for the 8th day of Passover. And next week, we will fit right back into the regular cycle of readings by getting to Acharei Mot, which is somewhere around Leviticus 18, somewhere around there. So that's what we're going to be doing. Okay.
Can you give us
we're pretty clear. There have been a number of things. I want to tell you, I think it's really important that Donna Nidell, the executive director of Wilshire, worked really closely with me, trying to get something done so that we could have our class and also get to Yizkor. There was terrific cooperation. It just was not technically possible. So we're going to have our own Yizkor at 10 o'clock. I also want to point out that today at 4:00 p.m. is the adult B'nai Mitzvah. Lorraine Tabarino, who comes to our class once in a while, will be one of the adult B'nai Mitzvah people. This is going to be live streamed and in-person Glazer Campus adult B'nai Mitzvah today. And to note that later today on the Wilshire website, there's going to be a tape played of the formal Yizkor service. And if you'd rather have that, it's available. Okay, Jim Ruxin.
Hi, tonight we're going to discuss the film Drive My Car. This is the International Film Oscar Award winner this year. It's a very thoughtful, sensitive film about grief, recovery, loss, and what to do about our mortal condition. It's about a Japanese theater director who goes to a small island play festival to direct Uncle Vanya, the famous play by Anton Chekhov. And he's assigned a driver to take him from his hotel to the theater venue and back during rehearsals. It's really about his working with the actors and the profound depth of the theatrical experience. And as a long film, that's the focus for the first 2 hours. And then in the third hour, the relationship between the driver and the theater director emerge. And they're both victims of very painful grief And it's all about how do you cope with your own suffering and how do you continue on with your life in a productive way. Very sensitive, very profound movie. It's a little longer than we usually discuss, but there's so much there. And I've already heard from several members of the group, some of whom are here this morning, that it's a profound film and they were very moved by it for long after they saw it. So I hope you can all see it this afternoon. The discussion is at 7:30. If you go back to the website, you'll get a registration link and you can log on then at 7:30. But do try and start the film before 4:30 because you'll run out of time.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. I want to say hello to Marina. I want to say hello to Harold. I see Harold. Hi. Natalie, I see. Okay, I think I have said hello.
Carrie and Ray in Hawaii.
So now, checking in. So we saw Cindy, she left quickly, but Cindy is in the process of becoming a grandmother again very, 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 very soon. So she is in the family. I would like to hold up this. This is called the Reformed Jewish Quarterly. It is published by the Central Conference of American Rabbis and only has the most distinguished authors contribute to it. That it's
You contribute this week?
I've done a few articles in here, but this week there is a short fiction article of essay by Mara Fine, PhD, listed right here, entitled A Sacred Marriage. So Mara now, I mean, it's been happening. We've been following this for the past few years, more and more and more publishing. And Risa and I both read the item. Mara writes, I don't want to even try to do this, but writes contemporary midrash. She creates midrash. And Mara, it's wonderful. It is totally wonderful. And I don't know how anyone else can get this because, you know, it's only 2,000 rabbis and a bunch of others. Mara, how do we?
I don't know unless someone like you were to do something unethical, like copying it and sending it out to somebody else.
Well, Steve, here, you're asking me to break the copyright laws. Okay.
Can we order it from CCAR?
Yeah, but let me find out if we can get copies.
Well, or Mara maybe could send a draft out electronically since she's the author.
Okay. The most important thing is
let me take a look, but thank you very much, Rabbi, for mentioning this. I really appreciate it. I actually haven't gotten my copy yet.
Okay, we have it. That's okay. And I had no choice but to read it because even though this was addressed to me, Risa saw it, grabbed it, read it, and thrust it at me. So that was it. Mazel tov. That is really great. Speaking of really great, hi, Carrie. Did anything happen of any interest over this past week or so? I mean, what's happening?
Well, my daughter's here.
Okay.
My daughter's visiting, and that's sort of where my head is. And let's see, we had Passover, which was wonderful. You know, we had 14 people here, and I have never hosted Passover. I've mostly participated in it, maybe 5 or 6 times, but this was a big deal, and it went off really well. The food was great, and Ray led Passover.
We never mentioned during the conversion process that part of the obligation is to cater large seders. Did you get to mention that?
No, he didn't mention it.
Okay, so that's wonderful. We have so many good things happening, so many good things. Does anyone have anything else to share about what's going on, Howard, in your life?
Chapter and verse.
Chapter and verse. Chapter 1, verse 1. So my grandson, Michael is enrolled at Oberlin College.
Yes.
Yeah. So
excellent.
Very nice. And he's going to do a gap year. He wants to do part of that to go to Thailand to learn how to meditate.
You want to try me again? He's going to Thailand
he's going to go to he's going to do a gap year before he goes to college. Spend a year doing various things. I would have thought something like working at a store or something, but he's going to go to Thailand for a while, and I guess they have programs for foreigners to come in and meditate, learn how to meditate. Does that make any sense at all?
I have no comment to make. I think that's wonderful. I think that's great that it's your grandson doing it. So that.
Yeah, right.
Does it count when you're doing something for your grandchildren?
Merle, what's happening?
This isn't about my life. My life is great, but I'm going to put in a plug for the CCAR quarterly journal, whatever it's called. It is available at the CCAR website for a small donation. And if you would like to join the Friends of the CCAR, which I am the co-chair of, it's a development group for the CCAR for programming, etc. And we're more than happy to have members, and then you get it for free as part of your donation to belong. But Mara, the article was fabulous. That was like the first thing I read when I got mine.
I don't know. I don't like this business of lay people reading our secret communications, but
thank you.
How secret they are, but okay.
Okay. That's fabulous. Thank you. Anyone else? Anything else to share? Good. We're going to be moving forward now. We're going to be starting because, again, last day of Passover, 8th day of Passover, the assigned reading is Deuteronomy 14:22 to 16:17. In the Plout, 1268. In the WRJ, the Women's Commentary, 1127. And by the way, I do know that Tamara is having a wonderfully relaxed week or two as she does her final crash edits on a 900-page manuscript or something. How many pages is it?
700 only.
Oh, I exaggerated. Only 700 pages. Okay, that is fabulous. Not that I'm trying to sell books or anything, but this week I had lunch with one of the contributors to my new book, Jacob Wright, and it was an incredible experience. Jacob Wright, what we have put in as the first chapter in the book, and it is a totally revolutionary way to approach the writing of the Bible, just all kinds of stuff, how the Bible came to be in so many ways, what it is. And I had such a good time. And now I discovered that Jacob is writing the book that everyone should have been asking for and nobody did. All the other things you've said we want to learn about the Bible, Jacob is writing a book on why the Bible was written.
Wow.
That, it's something I have absolutely never thought about. Why was it written? And so that one's going to come out too. Let's go to Deuteronomy 14:22, which is 1268 in the Plout. And I chose not to go to the specific section that relates to Passover because there are a lot of interesting things. 1268, I can get there. A lot of interesting things in the Sedra. So let's look. 1268. We get to, you shall set aside every year a 10th part of the yield of your sowing that is brought from the field. Talk about a non-inspiring way to launch into Torah study. Good. We are to set aside a tithe, 10% of our produce. You may want to look a little bit back before that. They're much more interesting things, but it's not read this week. All winged swarming things are impure, so you can't eat winged swarming things. You can only eat pure winged creatures. Don't eat anything that died a natural death. Give it to the stranger to eat or sell it to a foreigner. And that's another interesting conversation, which we're not going to have.
Funny.
And the last thing is, do not boil a kid in its mother's milk. There are, God, I'm forgetting, three times I think that's said in the Torah. And what does that explicitly stop us from eating?
Cheeseburger.
Milk. Got it. You got it. It is the anti-cheeseburger law. And some of us don't really think it deserves that reputation. That's another conversation for another day. Okay, cool. So here we are at the end of this section. It's going to say, and don't forget to keep up with the 3 pilgrimage festivals, which are what? Who can name the 3 pilgrimage festivals? Donna?
Passover.
Passover, Sukkot, and Shavuot.
Very good. And we are knocking off Pesach today. And the next one up is Shavuot coming in January. You know, you don't want to walk on my keyboard. Thank you very much. That was sweet. Okay. Now, a tithe. The word refers to a tenth, right? A tithe. You are to set aside every year a 10th part of what grows because of your sowing. You shall consume the tithes of your new grain, wine, and oil, and the firstlings of your herds and flocks in the presence of the eternal God. Thank you, dear. In the place where God will choose to establish a divine name. What's going on here? This actually is a hugely important text, but it really is boring to read. What's it dealing with? What is it saying? What is its core issue? Anyone want to come in? Okay, Donna.
I believe, Donna.
Lady Madonna.
Okay, I believe it's to be grateful for what we have and to honor God with the prosperity He's given us, to always honor Him first with everything we have, to make an offering to the Lord to thank Him for what He's given us.
Okay, so one thing we have going on here, yes, saying thank you is a mitzvah. It's not a gentle thing which we ought to do if we feel like it. We are obligated to say thank you. I see, wait a second here. I know, okay, Harv, yes.
I think it deals with tzedakah and social equity. In other words, you're setting up giving and helping the poor people out.
Social equity is not an optional nice thing to do. I think it's really important to hear this. This is an obligation. Setting aside 10% of your produce to tithe is something which everyone is required to do. Now, tithes there are 3 categories. There's grain, wine, and oil. Grain, wine, and oil. Tithe the grapes, tithe the product, tithe the olives, all of that, but also from the animals that you raise and so forth. Rashi was very happy to make something clear. Very happy. Do this, Rashi says, God says, or I'm going to destroy all your crops. I thought that was very nice. Very positive kind of a thing. God is saying, according to Rashi, bring your tithes, offer your thanksgiving, and it's a good thing to do because if you don't do it, I am going to wipe out all of your crops. And he thought about that Rashi. Anyone want to jump in and indicate how you respond to Rashi in this case? Merle, do I have you responding?
I don't know what my personal response would be, but the local farmer that I go to their farmer's market every Friday morning before Shabbat, they're starting, the season is wearing down, but he's starting a thing where every Sunday morning now, he is asking people to come help and volunteer at the actual farm. And the produce that can't be sold in their farmer's market or can't be used for what they cook to sell at the farmer's market, they are starting to give to homeless people.
I think that's fantastic. That is really good.
That's where we'll be tomorrow morning.
One of the interesting things about that is within the Torah legislation, you are required to not harvest the corners of your fields.
Right.
You keep moving. Merle, I lost you again. You moved. Where are you?
Not on purpose. I'm still in the same place.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, you jumped down 1 row and 3 sides to the left. Okay. You are to leave the corners of the field for the poor, which is considered to be superior to giving charity.
Like Ruth and Boaz.
Let the poor come in, harvest the corner of your field, let them feel the dignity of labor and earn the food that they're going to put on their own plate. So that is very much there. I see other hands. I see Steve and I see Mara. Steve?
You asked about the Rashi threat, I guess.
Yes.
And at a certain point, I understand that these things are commandments, but also at a certain point, if it's under duress, I don't think you internalize the meaning as well. And you want to inculcate people to do this of their volition, and they want to because it's the right thing to do, not because of the threat of what happens if you don't, as effective as that may be.
I heard something really interesting this week, Steve, that Judaism is often referred to as a religious tradition with lots of no's. Thou shalt not, all these things. And the person who was talking with me said, you know, saying what's not permitted is really a small amount of how we live. By putting up the outer parameters, it allows us to make ethical decisions about the vast number of things we could do. The idea being that people need to choose their moral behavior. In this Rashi, God is being very clear. Do it or starve. And I found that, anyhow, that was me, very difficult. Do we have Eric? Eric, you have your hand up? You're muted, Eric.
Okay. We have a homeowners association in my condo in Florida for like security and groundskeeping and everything. We can't live in your condo alone without having these additional services performed. So it's called a homeowners association.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is it, let's see, Ray? And then David. Ray and then David.
I think compelling people to give charity recognizes human nature for what it is. The worst parts of our human nature, including that of greed. And without compelling people to do good, people tend to do bad.
Wow. Okay, we're going to let that sit on the table for a bit. David.
Do any of the other great Jewish thinkers subscribe to what you just said, Rashi said about the tithes? Because I know in many portions of the Torah, it says the drastic consequences that will befall us, that God will do if we don't do something. Here, I didn't see where it specifically says God will destroy our crops and everything. And so where does Rashi get it? And what about other major thinkers?
That's a perfectly fine question. And it's not one that I'm able to answer personally, David. When that happens, you'll notice I'm going to cut you off the screen and you're gone. I can say for certain that Rashi is basing himself upon some of the positions taken by the rabbis that are very harsh with regard to human nature and with regard to doing what's right. And they can certainly emphasize punishments that come to those who do not do what is right. So love your neighbor as yourself, right? But God also seems to make clear, according to the rabbis, that if you fail to love your neighbor as yourself, you are going to bring destruction on your world. So there is always a dark side. Am I saying this right? A dark side to ethical commandments. Tomorrow, what do you think? Are you there?
Well, there are threats. I think it's true that the Bible expects that the stick may be more effective than the carrot. Excuse me. So it's trying to motivate people in both ways.
Okay, but the motivation is a very harsh motivation. And I suggest you take a very long sip of kosher Lepaso wine. Okay. By the way, okay, I see Brad, and then I see Fern.
Rabbi, I've kind of focused on the phrase "you may," so that you may learn to revere the Lord your God. In other words, this is sort of a teaching lesson, and it's by practicing virtue that one becomes virtuous. It's sort of an Aristotelian idea of, by practicing this act, one becomes a virtuous.
You know,
I agree.
Well, I have a very high regard for you, Brad. But when you steal my curriculum a paragraph in advance, it burns me. I cleaned up the language. Yes, yes, and yes. Of course, in my text, Brad, I put in habituation. Okay? That in causing people to get started in the process of offering thanks and showing gratitude, we habituate them, we train them. And then the best part, Brad, the rabbis loved what you picked out of this verse, so that they may learn. If you can picture this, the rabbis in the Talmud describe the priests in the Second Temple period of teaching the people in clusters all the good things that they should do to live as Jews. Folks, who are the people who teach the people in clusters how to live? The rabbis. So the rabbis are moving forward here, taking this verse and making the priests just like the rabbis, or to put it differently, to making the rabbis just like the priests. And they love this verse. So they see the priests gathering the people in the Second Temple and running Melton or adult education programs. Needless to say, we have no evidence for that, but that is no reason not to assert that it isn't true. They needed it. Fern?
I really was going to echo what Brad was saying. So the only thing I would add is that I understood that we are required to do certain things that may or may not seem important to us, but we are required to do them so that when we do them when it's easy, so that we get used to it, as you said, to habituate, so that when it's difficult, we do them habitually, instinctively, we do them more easily.
Really true.
Like exercise.
You know, it's muscle memory, if you want to call it spiritual muscle memory, whatever, ethical muscle memory. When you do and you do and you do, after a while, it becomes something you want to do and something you do easily. So yeah, that I really like that. Yes, I believe in that. I believe, for example, that when we bring our kids to services on Friday evenings when they're young, when we have a Passover Seder for 14 people, Carrie, and you know, we get used to doing it, this becomes the happy norm. It's what we expect. Now, I want to throw something else out, which is really important here. You are to bring tithes to express gratitude to God. You are to bring tithes to care for the poor. You are to bring tithes, and I'm not going to go into all the technical details, because part of what you bring, you are to bring to Jerusalem and eat in a sacred picnic near the temple. It's a really great thing, but none of that is as important as one part of the tithe system is to give to the priests. I am very much in favor of supporting clergy and religious leaders. This is, I just think it is a superb mitzvah. So you bring the tithes so that the priest can eat. Folks, why can't the priests eat out of their own property? Why?
They don't have any.
They don't have any. And one of the things we're still hanging on to the last few hours of Passover. Increasingly, contemporary Bible scholars are stating a belief that most of the Israelites never were in Egypt, that perhaps only one tribe or one gathering or group of Israelites left Egypt and came into Canaan to rejoin the other part of their family community. Follow me for a brief moment. The tribe or grouping or family that the scholars believe were the ones who actually exited Egypt were the priests, the people who became the priests. One of the hints that this is so is that they came into the country and all the land was already divided up. Everybody had a piece of land. And the priests, the Levites, never got a piece of land. And in order to integrate them into the community, a system was set up, part of the tithing process by which the priests were sustained. Any thoughts or reactions? I saw some of your facial reactions. Some of you looked totally bored, but some of you looked not totally believing in what I was saying. Any thoughts, any comments?
I'll take
Steve?
your word for it.
If that were true, how did this group of priests, if they were the only ones in Egypt, how would that have functioned as a society?
I don't
especially
understand.
if the system's created later.
I don't understand the question. How would what have
If
functioned?
only the priests are in Egypt, how did they sustain themselves, and how, if, I mean, you're saying the system of supporting the priests was created when they returned to the land, so it wouldn't have been in place in Egypt. How would it be that only the priests were in Egypt and surviving as a society?
Slaves.
Okay. I'm going to offer this, and then I'm going to turn to Tamara for obviously important fill-in. The priests were probably a part of what we would call the family of Jacob, or the family of Jacob. Part of that community veered off and went to Egypt, stayed there, and then left, came back. They came back with skills that they probably learned in Egypt. The skills, I don't know how to say this, Steve, the skills of religion, the skills of worship, the skills of approaching God, the skills of being able to determine God's will. They brought those skills back into the land. Because of those skills, they achieved high status, and they were sustained, and over a period of time, a system was created in which they were integrated into the whole community. Tamara, fix what I just said.
That's the theory, yeah. And the Thai system is what was supposed to sustain them. And every tribe had a group of Levites. There were Levites, and the priests were part of the Levites. And they served as sort of community centers and religious centers for each tribe for a long time, and were supported by the tithe, by the 10% that was offered according to the Torah.
And also, Steve, to mention that there not only were priests who would then serve in the Jerusalem temple, there were Levite clusters now in many local towns in Canaan. It's important to hold on to, so that it's not, if you will, that they had a community rabbi, but it's kind of a little bit like that. There were clusters of Levites in the major towns, and the people had the obligation to support them. In return, the Levites supplied intellectual religious guidance to the community. Okay, I see Marina.
My question is, so are you saying that the people who were slaves and did manual work in Egypt and then complained loudly about the Lord and asked why did Moses take them out and not leave them in Egypt, they were priests, or the priests derived from them? Because the community was constantly challenging the authority and whining. So it doesn't sound to me like they were generating spiritual leaders along the way.
Okay, if you take the description of the Torah as to the nature of the Israelites going through the desert, we don't win Loyal Family of the Year award. That is no question. We don't win that. The problem, Marina, is that you're excerpting from a story which may have been and probably was created long after the fact. The story, as told in the book of Exodus and the book of Numbers, Deuteronomy, The story is of a group of people all moving through the desert. And scholars are looking at it. Doesn't mean that they're absolutely right, but scholars today are looking at that and saying this was a way to write all of the Israelites into the Exodus story, to write them in, even though they were not in.
I don't want it, but thank you.
Did that make sense to you? That it's written long after the period of the Exodus, but written in such a way that everyone was there and everyone participated.
Where's
I
my?
see. So it's they take the collective notion of the people and reflect it. It's not necessarily what was happening.
Square.
I think I'm happy with it's not necessarily what happened. I think that's good. And now I am going to step into a meat grinder. Effie, what would you like to say?
Well,
Blanked out on the name.
God wrote the Bible. So all of these stories that you're giving might be nice for somebody to make a doctoral thesis or something, but just remember, God wrote the Bible.
Okay, we get that. We get that. And thank you. Mara Harvey, you have your hand up?
She's a PhD. She's very smart.
It seems to me that,
She's very smart.
I'm not sure how to say this.
Just be nice.
It seems to me that if the priests came from Egypt and we then have a story of how the Israelites behaved with the golden calf while at Sinai, where ostensibly these priests were being ordained, that it is a lesson to us that we must ourselves be priests, because we cannot depend on an ordained priesthood.
Well, first of all, any attack on the clergy is an attack on me. So let this
Here.
context. Okay. Mara, I would love for all of us to sit with a great Bible scholar and get a solid, detailed, contemporary academic view of all that you raised. Let me just narrowly focus on the golden calf. The northern kingdom of Israel had two sanctuaries. They set themselves up in the north to be the not south. The south had Jerusalem and the temple. The kingdom of the north, Israel, was the not south. In those sanctuaries in the north, where, according to tradition, the 10 tribes were there, big, powerful state, powerful, more powerful than Judah, though it was destroyed earlier. There were golden calves in those sanctuaries. As the Torah, as the scribes began to do their writing, they needed to make the golden calf a symbol of the worst. And that's how the story enters what we call in the book of Exodus and the Sinai experience. So what I'm saying is I'm doing a lousy teaching job because we're talking about pieces here and pieces there, and it's not an integrated lesson. And I know that. But to your specific question, as far as we can understand, academic humility, as far as we can understand, that golden calf was inserted to make clear that what the Northern Kingdom did with their sanctuaries is wrong. And put it back in the desert so that it doesn't become political north and south. Oh my God, it's Moses. You know, whoa, it goes back there, not to our contemporary challenge. Does that make any sense to you? Slow answer. I don't.
It makes sense to me. The whole issue kind of even brings up for me the split in Christianity, where you move away from the priesthood of Catholicism to Protestantism. So it's just very, very complicated.
Yeah, first of all, Tamara made a comment. Mara's wonderful comment at Sinai, God invites all of Israel to be a kingdom of priests and a holy people. Okay? And without going to that, there's so many things. I tell you, we don't study this. We skip over, we do other things. The conflict between a guiding priesthood and the individual moral conscience has only been going on, I think, since people invented religion. It always goes on. You are totally correct that the Protestant Reformation got rid of the priest, got rid of the Vatican, got rid of bishops and cardinals and all those good people. And I don't know, they ended up with Martin Luther instead. I'm not sure that was a big gain, but they did that. I don't know why. Everything. Tamara, yes, the people's pictures are shifting all over. I think I'm going to throw a migraine. Okay, Tamara.
Yeah, I don't think the Torah sees the priests as moral guide. Priests have a job. Their job is to handle sacrifices and things that are too dangerous for the uninitiated to handle, just the way surgeons are the only ones who handle things in the operating room. And so the priests were like priests in other culture. The Torah expects every one of us to become a moral conscience. And that's why what was said earlier is so important, the persuasive nature of the Torah and the threats of the Torah and the habituation are to train every one of us. That's the point, and that's what makes it different from other tradition of the ancient world, where the hierarchy and the king were the model for everything. They are not in the Torah. They've got a job, but each of us is to be trained, which is why the Torah was given to all Israel and not kept as a monopoly to be circulated only among the elite.
Okay, thank you for that. We are running near the end of our time. I just want to do, these verses are wonderful when we pause to look at them. So Brad properly pointed out the end of verse 23, so that you may learn to revere the eternal your God, to be habituated into doing what is right. But let's go on. If you live far away from the Jerusalem temple or wherever, you can convert your tithe into money, wrap up the money, take it with you to the place where the eternal your God has chosen. Do you notice again, this is a Deuteronomy passage. What word is omitted here? What name is omitted here?
Jerusalem.
You got it. Who said that? Somebody said that. I want to give credit. Okay.
Howard.
Howard. Thank you. Yeah, it keeps on saying to the place God has chosen. It doesn't say Jerusalem. Then, when you see the comment, you got your produce, you live way up in the Galilee, you want to bring it down to Jerusalem, it's a schlep. So what do? You sell it. You wrap the money up, you come down to Jerusalem. What? Do you give a cash donation to the priest? No.
No.
What do?
You buy a replacement animal.
You go to a business operation at the temple location in which your money is converted back into produce, product, animals, and so forth for sacrifice. What did this image get misunderstood by the New Testament as to
The
what
money
it
changers.
The money lenders. Christ
This
expelling
is
the money
so-called-
lenders.
The so-called attack on the money lenders at the temple, it is a misunderstanding of what those people were doing. They were reconverting the money that was gained from selling the produce back into animals, so that they then can be sacrificed at the temple. Let me just go on quickly because I love the next thing. Where else in the Torah will you find this line? Look at it. Spend the money on anything you want. Cattle, sheep, wine, or other intoxicants, or anything you may desire. Feast there in the presence of the eternal your God and rejoice with your household. When was the last time a rabbi has said to you, hey, folks, go on out, buy a great meal, get a good bottle of wine, and party at the temple. This is such an unusual, wonderful comment. I love in the Hebrew, the achalta sham, be happy, eat before God, v'samachta, simcha.
I love
Be happy.
I love it.
Be happy. This is such a good thing. Now I'm going to go really fast just to finish up 27, 28, 29. Don't neglect the family of the Levite. Here, he has no hereditary portion in the land. Remember what we said. Now, this next part indicates that, in fact, and no, we're not going to go into it, there was more than one tithe. There was a series of tithes. Every year, a certain kind of tithing occurred, and not going to worry about that. Then the family of the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, the widow shall come and eat their fill. And what's the result? L'man yivarechecha Adonai Elohecha b'chol ma'aseh yadecha. If you act with moral courage, if you act with concern for the disadvantaged groups, if you care for the widow, the orphan, the Levite without produce, the fatherless, the stranger, whatever, look what's going to happen. God will bless you in all that you do. There can be no greater promise in the Torah. What I want to point out, and I'd like to leave us with this: social justice, ethics, morality, caring for others, however you label it, brings the greatest rewards that the Torah has to offer.
Amen, Rabbi. Amen.
Thank you. Think about that. I have such a great section to teach you about legal fictions. We cannot get to it, but maybe we'll get to it next year. Ray says, I'd be interested to learn a bit more about evidence that drives scholars to this understanding of the golden calf narrative. Okay, yes. Tamara and I will consult and recommend a book. One book. We got to figure that out. Okay. Ruth was of great. Eric, community. Okay, we're good. Thank you all very much. We are now shifting immediately and directly into the Yiska service that'll be followed by Kaddish. Harriet, you're adjusting. Okay, those of you who are leaving, fine. We love you. And I am just going to conduct a short Yisker for us. And we're going to
Shabbat shalom, everybody. I'm going to Chabad.
Yes, and I wish Chabad well. That is good. We begin, and Hannah, are you there? Hannah Gold? I'm waiting for Hannah. Are you there? Shabbat.
I'm here.
Okay, so we're going to begin on page 574. 574. Hannah is going to screen share, and that'll allow all of us to participate if we would like. Are you up, Hannah?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. Okay. Adonai ma'adam v'teidaehu berenosh v'tchashvehu Adam lahevel dama yamav k'tzel over Baboker yatzitz v'chalap le'erev yomolel v'yavesh. Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath, our days are as a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to revert to dust, saying, return, O mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood where we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. Adonai, you redeem the souls of your servants, and none who trust in you shall be forsaken. Page 575. This is a contemporary writing written in the middle of the 20th century. We can read it together. I know it'll be a cacophony, but it is a beautiful statement.
Of the day, I got
Birth is the beginning.
Yes.
Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. And life is a journey from childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom,
from weakness
to strength,
or strength to weakness,
and often back
again, from health to sickness and back.
Back we pray,
from offense to
forgiveness, loneliness to love, joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, fear to faith, from defeat to defeat, looking backward or ahead.
Some high place all the way
realize not that in some high place along the way, but in having
made the journey,
stage by stage, sacred pilgrimage
Birth is
Birth is the beginning,
a
and
life
death
journey,
is the destination.
life
Life
everlasting.
is a
Life is a
journey
journey
from
from
birth
birth
is the
death,
death to life
life
everlasting.
everlasting.
That is so profound.
Page 576, the 23rd Psalm. Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai Roel Eshek Erbitain. Amen Menuchot Yinahaleni. Nafshi Yeshoreh. Yancheni B'mavli Tzedek. L'man Shemo. Gam ki elech begeitz al-mavet. Lo irara. Ki ata imadi. Shiftecha mishantecha. Ela yenachamuni. Baruch lefanai shulchan ned orarai. Dishanta Hashem Roshi. Kosi Revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni. Kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'beit Adonai. The Orech Yamim. I'd like to ask that we read the Psalm of David near the bottom of the page, Psalm 23, to ourselves. Notice that the English finally is gender inclusive. This is a wonderful translation. Let's read this silently. Only goodness and steadfast love shall pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai for many long years. Page 579, please. This is a contemporary reading, 20th century, Israeli, translated. It is a beautiful thing. 579. Each person has a name. Where are we? A little bit more. 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 Oh, yes, there we go. The Hebrew is there, and then we'll go to the English. The Hebrew, contemporary Israeli poet, mid-20th century. L'chol ish yeshem shenatan lo Elohim v'natnu lo aviv v'imo. L'chol ish shenatnu lo amato v'ochim v'natan lo ha'arig. L'chol ish yeshem shenatnu lo heharim v'natnu lo ketalav. Let's go down further now to the English, and this is very beautiful. Each person has a name. We each have a name given by God and given by our father and mother. We each have a name given by our stature and smile and given by our attire. We each have a name given by the hills and given by the walls. We each have a name given by the stars and given by our friends. We each have a name given by our sins and given by our yearnings. We each have a name given by our enemies and given by love. We each have a name given by celebrations and given by our work. We each have a name given by the seasons and given by our blindness. We each have a name given by the sea and given by our death. I have actually sat in lectures in which this poem was explored for hours on end. It is truly, truly deep and meaningful. We each have a name. With that in mind, I am going to read the Yizkor names, the names of those who have passed away from our community over this past year. Steve Astrakhan, Malvin Bank, Philip Bartmasser, Aaron Bender, Robert Berg, Ron Berman, Solly Berman, Miriam Betzalel, Ted Bird, Saul Block, Sheila Bordeaux Wine, Mona Brandler, Susan Brody, Dennis Karen, Sandy Chatkin, Anna Chinsky, June Clayman, Milton Cohn, Mike Culver, Ruth Davidson, Betty Denitz, Alexandra Julian, Daniel Dworsky, Elaine Edelstein, Rena Rosa Eliashar, Harriet Epport, Deborah Felkin, Beverly Feinstein, Alan Elliott Furstein, Robert Joseph Flicker, Ruth Friedman, Alan Gardner, Gloria Gold, Toby Gold, Harry Golden, Stephen Goldinger, Stanley Goldklang, Stuart Goldman, Rona Goldstein, Shirley Gordon, Stephen Grad, Ruth Green Stamler, Ayafa Hagnazarzadeh, Richard Dick Bernard Halligan, John Harris, Annette Henkin Landau, Vu Pham Huang, Yuet Shun Ho Chan, Linda Hockman, Virginia Marco, Winnie Kaltman, Florence Kay, Mark Kessler, Ken Klenner, Sid Kolpas, Coco Konar, Wendy Kramer, Alexander Lauterbach, William Leisner, Stephen Leventhal, Mark Levine, Shirley Linda, Harry Lipman, Estelle Markowitz, Anita Marston, John McNichol, Yvette Mimieux, Mary Marina, Sylvia Morrison, J.C. Nadell, Eunice Nazarian, Teji Newman, Jeremy Orlando, Joyce Austin, Nehemiah Persoff, Howard Flug, Michael Flatus, Mandy Porcelimi, Joyce Powell, Estera Pulvermacher, Michael Ravkin, Deborah Regal, Gideon Rossner, Marcel Riesenberg, Janice Sarnoff, Jane Scheiber, Bella Schimmel-Desser, Paul Schulman, Suzanne Schweitzer-Zaret, Arnold Seidel, Teresa Shapiro, Sarah Lynn Sidley, Blossom Smith, Ron Solomons, Miriam Spurtis, Ronnie Stabler, Sonny Sun, Marvin Jack Teitelbaum, Ruth Tober, Steve Tulkin, Hillary Turtletop Costin, Donald Van, Ronnie Vine, Helen Walder Rogaway, Stephen Weiner, Barbara Werlin, Deborah Werner, Pearl Yeager, Iraj Eliyahu Yadidsian, Nanis Zeman. If there are other names of those who passed away this year, please speak those names aloud or keep them in your hearts.
Jake Weir and Sally Grabham.
Rafi Karel.
We move now to page 580, and there we have the silent Yizkor. And if you please notice where it says in English, may God remember my, this is to remember all of those who have passed away this year, but in our lives, to remember those whom we remember during the time of Yizkor. So that may God remember forever my is an opening for you to pray and to remember those precious to you. And then the next section, Yizkor Elohim, if we can go down a little bit, is the close of calling for a collective Yizkor memory. So if we can go up a little bit now, oh, right there, be perfect. And we pray silently for those whom we remember. Okay, if we can go a little lower on the page, please. They're good, just for the English. Good, good. May God remember forever our loved ones who have gone to their eternal rest. May they be at one with the one who is life eternal. May the beauty of their lives shine forevermore. May my life always bring honor to their memories. Amen. May God remember forever our brothers and sisters of the house of Israel, who gave their lives for the sanctification of the divine name. May they be at one with the one who is life eternal. May the beauty of their lives shine forth forevermore. And may my life always bring honor to their memory. And then the third Yizkor Elohim. May God remember forever our brothers and sisters of the house of Israel. Yes, okay. Yizkor, we're going to go forward now. Let me get to what our next spot is. Okay, I can do this. Yes. We are going to go forward here and get ready for Kaddish itself. But first, we're going to recite the El Male Rachamim, which is on page 582. 582. El Male Rachamim, Shochen Vamromim, Amtzei Menucha Nechonatach at Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kadoshim Tohorim, Kazoar Harakia Mazirim, Lenishmot Yakirenu Shaholchul Olamim, Baal Harachamim Yastirem, V'Seiter Kanafal Olamim, V'Yitzror B'Yitzror HaChayim Et Nishmatam, Adonai Hu Nachalatam, V'Yanuchu V'Shalom Amishkavam, V'Nomar Amen. To our loved ones who have entered eternity, grant clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Baal Harachamim, source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings. Secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours. They will rest in peace. Adonai hu nachalatam, v'yanuchu v'shalom amishkavam, v'nomar amen. On page 583, this is a a paragraph, 583, are we there? 583? This is a paragraph that we read every time we have Yizkor, and we usually don't pay attention to it. Let me just read it to you and ask you to think about what the words are saying. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as they live, we too shall live. For they are now a part of us as we remember them. This Yizkor prayer is a subtle allusion to all the times when we say Yizkor. When it talks about the rising of the sun and the going down, the morning services, the evening services, the blowing of the wind, the chill of winter, all of the seasons, the opening of buds. It's talking about Pesach, in the rustling of the leaves, the beauty of autumn. It's talking about Sukkot, in the beginning of the year, and when it ends, we're talking about Pesach. In other words, this prayer is a prayer to remind us that we think of those whom we have lost always. Last night, I kindled a memorial candle in memory of my mother who died on the 8th day of Passover. At the same time, that burning candle that we light for Yizkor anyway, I see all during the year. I see that candle every time I say Kaddish. When I come to Yizkor, and my family, my mother, my father, my sister are still alive in me, I hope and pray that the people you remember, the people whose names you call to mind, the candles that you light, will cause them to live on as long as we are here to remember them.
Amen.
Those who have passed away during the past month: Malvin Bank, Robert Berg, Anna Chinsky, Fufam Wang, Regina Marco, Florence K., Mark Kessler, Sylvia Morrison, J.C. Nadell, Jeremy Orlando, Nehemiah Persoff, Joyce Powell, and the Yortzites that occurred during the past week: Martin Barbakoff, Lillian Barbakoff, Ronald Barbanel, Abram Barkin, Reva Burke, Craig Burkus, Dorothy Berman, Lynn Bernstein, Doris Sports, Jean Bosley, Janet Burns, Anne Cezanne, Betty Davids, Rivka Davidson, Sylvia Dubik, Jane Myers Eisen, Arnie Engman, Ann Finkel, David Fisher, Beatrice Fleischer, Ida Frankel, Sarah Frechtel, Arlene Fredgant, Norma Freeman, Evelyn Furman, Marshall Gelfand, Janice Gary, Rachel Gertz, Sydney Gertz, Hyman David Glassberg, Ruth Glader, Diane Pregerson Glazer, Stephen Golan, Florence Goldman, Paul Grossman, Catherine Handel, Handelsman, Milton Hollander, Richard Yeager, Rose Caden, Sanford Kaplan, Max Carl, Irving K., Louis Kine, Louis Klein, Elaine Krasno, Larry Critt, Raymond Kurtzman, Eleanor Kuttner, Helen Levy, Joshua Saul Lobenthal, Beatrice Lowe, Rose Mann, Sidney Madoff, Rose Madoff, Shirley Minter, Julius Michel, Jack Misraji, Richard Mosk, Renee Motley, Nassim Musri, Lillian Naiman, Sylvia Naiman, Francine Flug, Genevieve Polip, David Rand, Marshall Redmond, Celia Rochester, Terry Rogers, Dorothy Natalie Rosen, Joseph Ross, Erwin Rothman, Mildred Sachs, David Schneider, Arthur Schneider, Mildred Schwartz, Manny Siegel, David Siegel, Don Senich, Benjamin Mac Chappelle, Ruth Siegel, Gloria Silber, Herman Solomon, Carly Stein, James Coper Stern, Ogle Stock, Jacob Strassman, Myrtle Sugarman, Jean Tabak Bank, Josephine Tramer, Sandy Ellman, Theodore Urban, Irving Wax, Arnold Walder, Terry Walder, Alma Walker, Russell Weinstein, David Yalwitz, Miriam Farkas Zink. If there are other names to be remembered now, any names that you would like pronounced now, I ask that you speak those names aloud. We call to mind as well the names of all of those who died in defense of the United States, who died in defense of the state of Israel. We call to mind those who died through senseless acts of hatred. We call to mind those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We pray that God will bring mercy and peace to us all as we recite Kaddish together, together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah v'almad yiflah v'yitei v'yamliv v'chayei d'chol Israel v'agalah yizman karim amen. Heshmei v'furah v'olam amayim Yitbarach v'yishbach v'yitba'ar v'yitramah v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal v'yitkudah v'yichud Ta'elah v'shira tushbachat v'nechama Da'amiran Amen. Yehi Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chayim Aleinu Yachol V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Uyah Shalom Aleinu Yalkol Beit Tevel V'imru Amen. May God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among the families and nations of earth. And let us say,
Amen. Amen.
Precious memories, my friends. Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom. May your memories come to bring you comfort and healing. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you for joining with me.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful day. Donna, are you here? Donna here? I see Donna's picture.
Hello? Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
You're here.
here.
Mazel tov on the roof that was last night. And okay, love to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Donna, have
Shalom,
a
everybody.
great weekend. Thank you for everything.
Thank you,
We
Rabbi.
love you.
Enjoy your pizza.
Robert, come here.